This one is really new. I've done a bit of activism work, and I read White Fragility, which everybody should read. It's a great book. And I think that might have been the place where I'm thinking about is that it brought up that, you know, there's a lot of focus on the problem of being Black or the problem of being Indigenous, but we don't talk a lot about the problem of being white. And it's a space that I think, like, you know, I'm never going to understand what it's like to be Indigenous or Black, but I'm not even sure I understand what it means to be white, but because well, I'm going to read this poem and then maybe we can talk about that a little more. So this is called The Absence of Color. As much as we claim to be good, it was always obvious that being a white person is not a good thing. But as a white person, I needed books like White Fragility and The Hate You Give to give me permission to say things like that. Because even though white isn't really an identity, it has become a dominant and oppressive cultural concept, a label that you are expected to wear, to mold yourself to fit as much as possible at all times. We white people are largely immigrants, landless descendants from Germany or Italy or Scotland, or the motherland of colonialism itself, Great Britain. Technically, we are tan at best, and we can only be identified as white if we buy into the ideals of a Puritan culture that pits us against them and tells everyone to buy more stuff when we feel the void that race creates. Some people say that we are all responsible for fixing these things, but responsibility comes with power, and power is something that self-identifying white people cling to while simultaneously shirking any responsibility for their ride on this sinking ship. So many modern physical and psychological structures were built based on blueprints that were designed from a white perspective. A perspective with the purpose of drowning out all color and creating a homogeneous hive of good little worker bees, devoted to queen capitalism, sacrificing themselves and each other for the greater good of production. I am not denying that people of color have and have always had power, but within the white system, it is limited by so many roadblocks strategically set up to remind anyone who is not white that they need to show appropriate gratitude to the masters as they shuck and jive past them, and only 1% of all Canadian CEOs are identified as Black. It is largely white cultures that taught men to count their women with their cattle and taught everyone that they must, at the least, identify as a man or a woman, since they couldn't all identify as white. And so calling yourself a white person, especially if you do it with any kind of pride, is merely an attempt to gloss over all of that without really doing anything about any of it. It's a flag you can wave to make a claim that you come in peace with your bundle of good intentions, even though your real agenda is claiming your piece of the American pie. And that makes identifying and grouping ourselves as white people a really bad thing, because white is just a construct. One that I don't want to identify with, because white isn't even really an identity.